Hello. So gearing up for the 4th of July holiday, I decided to make some little star coasters for our little party we're having over here. So we have a place to put our iced tea out on the patio. These are super fast and easy. This is just a granny square star. And they're great because you can make a whole bunch of them and string them together into a bunting, or you can use them as coasters. Or you can even use them as the center of another granny square to make a big star blanket out of. But I'm just going to show you how to make a very simple granny square star. So the first thing you're going to do is make a chain 4 and slip stitch to join to make a loop to work into. And you can choose to use a magic ring here if you want. I find these just work a little better holding together for granny squares. So then we're going to chain 3 and get started on the middle of our star. DC 2 into the middle of that ring. And then chain just 2 and then DC 3 into the ring again. And what we're going to do is, this is looking a lot like our regular granny square, but instead of 4 clusters of 3 DCs, we're going to do 5 clusters because our star needs 5 corners on it, unlike our blanket that only had 4. So we're going to chain 2 again, 3 DC into the middle, I caught my tail. That's just 1, 2, 3, and chain 2 again. And you're going to have to scoot them around that corner because fitting 5 clusters in here is always a little challenging. There's 4 clusters. So normally if we were doing a blanket, we would go to this end now, but since we need this to have 5 points, we're going to add 1 more cluster. So chain 2 again, and 3 DC into this hole. And then chain 2 one last time, and pull all the way around. Slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 that we started with. So you can see now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clusters. So just like on our other granny squares, we're going to slip stitch 3 times. 1, 2, 3, so that we get to the first chain space, and then chain 3 and 2 DC into that chain space, and then all 5 of these are going to be corner pieces, so we're going to chain 3 and then DC 3 into that corner again. Now we don't want our star to have straight across corners. Sorry, my ball's getting in the way. Should put that in a yarn ball or a yarn bowl. So we don't want this to have square straight across corners, otherwise it'll just be a hexagon. So we want it to have tucked in corners, so we're not going to chain in between the corner clusters. So do not chain here. We're going to do our 3 DC, chain 3, 3 DC into the next chain space without putting a space in between them. Otherwise we'll just get a hexagon. So there's our space, or our next corner. Now we're going to not chain here, and 3 DC, chain 3, 3DC into this corner. Okay, don't chain. 3DC, chain 3, 3DC into this corner. Alright, don't chain, 3DC, chain 3 in 3DC into the last corner. Getting kind of squirrely on me. Sorry, it's flopping around. Okay, and we're not going to chain, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 that we started in. So here's what we've got by our second round. Alright, so our next round we're going to slip stitch 3 times to get to that chain space. And chain 3, 2DC, and then chain 3, 3DC into the same chain space to make that first corner. Now, it's too far of a reach to just go straight across without doing anything here. So what you're going to do is find that space in between the last 2 corners, this space right here. It's not a chain space, but it's a space between where the 2 clusters meet up. You're going to SC into that space. Okay. Then do your next corner, 3 DCs, chain 3, 3 DCs into the chain space. Okay, so find that space again between the 2 corners, SC into that space, and then do your next corner, 3DC, chain 3, 3DC into that corner. Find your space between the corners, SC into the space, and 3DC, chain 3, 3DC into the next corner. And again, SC into the space, 3DC, chain 3, 3DC into your last chain 3 space. SC into the space between the corners, and then slip stitch into that the top of that starting chain. Pull it tight, cut it off, and there you have it. There you have your star. So you can take these, like I was saying, you can take them and put them side by side, and string a bunting across them. You can use them as coasters, which is what I'm going to do at our little party. Or you can use them to start other projects. You could even probably form them together to make a great big star blanket. But that is your simple granny stitch star, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July.